Hello, I'm the Guitar Geek, and this week I'm geeking out with Andy Smith from Honeyboy Amps, the man behind this, and this, and these, and this, my Honeyboy 5-watt. Hello, I'm the Guitar Geek, and with me today I've got Mr. Andy Smith from Honeyboy Amps. Hello, Andy.
Hello there, Andrew. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, mate. Again, another full start. We've already been chatting before this. This is always weird for me to suddenly start introducing the conversation. Honeyboy Amps, what do you do? Where are you based?
Well, I'm based up in Scotland, just west of Glasgow, and we build vintage-style tube amps. We've got a range of, well, a small range at the moment, of 5-watt and 18-watt amps based on 50s tweed. So we've got a circuit based on the Princeton and the Deluxe 5E3. Mm-hmm.
And there's one right next to me, just here. It's not green screened or superimposed. It's near me. There it is. So yeah, I am not only a fan of yours, I'm also a customer. And we've known each other for a while online through Facebook and various people. And some people that I trust and enjoy their playing were suddenly starting to buy your amps. And it just became clear that I didn't want one, I needed one quite a while ago, but it was really just a pipe dream. I mean, it was something that wasn't on my list of gear to buy, but it was certainly desirable. And then people just started really saying good things about what you're doing. And with the demos I'm doing on the channel, I had a solid state amp, the Boss Katana, but I wanted to offer also a tube amp so that I could show people what it sounds like through both. And I thought, wow, there's only one place I can go for a tube amp, and that's got to Andy at Honeyboy. And we talked about it, and you filled me with confidence. And even though I bought blind or deaf, I'd never played one of your amps. The people that had played them and did and do own them, I trust wholly, and they just said there's no question. So this may come across as me sort of bum kissing and trying to promote you. But genuinely, since I've got this amp, I've not put the Katana on.
That's what we like to hear.
And I've got an ABY box between the two amps, and it's just stuck on B, which is Honeyboy. And I'm not getting much work done, to be honest, because I'm just enjoying playing a single chord through this beautiful amp.
Glad to hear it.
So they're a little bit different to what else is on the market. Do you want to tell us about the custom finishes?
Yeah, well, so obviously, as I said, they're based on 50s tweed, and without a vast electronics background, there wasn't much I could bring to the electronic side of things. But I definitely wanted to do something on the visuals. My background is I grew up through rock and roll and rockabilly, 50s flash. So there's always that visual element there, and I didn't want to make another black amp. You see tweed everywhere, especially on a Joe Bonamassa stage, for instance, all tweed. Yeah. The visuals were going to be important. So the first one I did for myself was just some spruce screwed together. With a good kick, you could probably sideways it. And I just painted it in purple gloss paint. It's called Purple Ronnie. It's based on a Champ. It's a lovely little thing.
Cool.
But then a friend asked would I make one for him, so I started to lift up the finish quality a bit. I did like a polished dark cherry wood finish on spruce. But then when I started thinking about doing it commercially, I thought I've really got to up the game, and we started looking at these fancy vinyls. There are some that we're still. The one that you've got there, the Western Leather, is a widely available Tolex through all parts and Tube Amp Doctor, those type of people. So we've still got a few of those. I won't call them standards because it's a nice finish in itself. But then that was our starting point. We moved on from there. So we export our vinyls from various places. My wife does a lot of the searching and sourcing. So we've really sort of latched onto the reptilian, crocodile, snake, all that kind of stuff. I think, people who are into their Texas blues and boogie, they can't resist a bit of snakeskin. So, yeah.
Well, Stevie Ray couldn't, so.
Yeah, I mean, one guy, he's a drummer. He said to me, could you make me some boots in that stuff? Obviously, I haven't tried that yet.
Honeyboy
yeah,
boots.
so the look was important, and to complement the vinyls, we do our own. I do the powder coating of the corner protectors. So we can do sparkle finishes and sort of antique metallic finishes, and it just adds to the fun of the thing. Really.
Mm-hmm. So the whole company seems quite organic from its beginning, and you're just growing naturally by the sounds of things.
Well, yeah, the growth. I wanted the growth to be a little bit quicker than it has been. We're still with our 2 base models. So people keep asking about heads, but at the moment, initially we were stuck with heads because of the chassis orientation. But now we're actually getting our own chassis factored by a local steelworks, so that's not a problem anymore. But I think a lot of our tone comes from the oak cabinet, and to have someone take our head and put it on another cabinet, I think is watering down the offering a little. And it can be a hard sell to get someone to have both our head and our cab. So at the moment, I'm just concentrating on combos at the moment. And so on top of our 5 watt and 18 watt, I want to do, I want to change the 6V6s of the 18 watt into 6L6s. I haven't sourced the right transformer, but I'm getting onto that. Or we jump to the kind of pro or bandmaster style, up at 30, 35 watts, and dual speakers. So I've built a cabinet for a 3x10.
Really?
And I've just done a standalone cabinet, a 2x12 that came out very nicely. The bandmaster 3x10 style is just sort of waiting in the wings. So
do you build cabs to order as well? So exactly the same as the amps, people can just order a cab from you?
Yeah, the last one I did, it actually, in fact, went out today, shipped today. The guy bought a 5 watt amp a few months ago in our desert snake finish, or rattlesnake buff colour. But the patterns on it work really well. Pitted copper corners. And he said, he just came through and said, oh, can you do a 2x12 cab in my standard livery? Which to him was, he liked the first one so much, he's got a matching cabinet to go with it. Well, he's going to put some other head on there, but he can run the 5. In fact, I ran a 5 watt through the 2x12 cab a couple of days ago, and it just brought it up another level.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah. Everything was there, but more. It just had a broader. It had more depth, and because it had a Celestion Vintage 30 and a Creamback in it, so you're darkening the tone with those speakers anyway.
Yeah.
But between the two of them, they just brought out the top as well. It's amazing.
I love the V30. That's one of my favorite all-time speakers. It's always better when paired with something else, and especially with the Creamback, it's really going to fill that frequency response.
Yeah. Well, I had that recommendation from somebody else. The first 2x12 I did was was with the same combination. The guy had a 1977 Marshall JMP 50 watt. And I did this cab from him. He had been told that combination was very good. He asked me for it, so we did it. And it's just superb. And I've seen him gig it 5 or 6 times, and he just gets people coming up. What's that? The amp. Obviously, they're interested in his Marshall amp, but in combination with the cabinet, it's actually fantastic.
Yeah. And the cabinet is also oak. So, do you work solely with oak?
Yeah. I did a little bit of beech at the beginning, but that seemed to have a little dampening effect that the oak just doesn't have. The oak has got that hard, sharp clarity, it seems.
Yeah, I'm asking you questions that I already know the answer to because I've got them. But why did you go for the oak?
Well, it was a hunch, really. I knew I wanted a hardwood. it's just by my natural instincts tell you that a softwood is going to absorb some of the characteristic of what is coming out of that speaker, just because by its nature it's got that softness to it. Basically, the hardwood gives the speaker something to push against. It also is going to stay rigid and not have that absorption factor. And of the hardwoods that were available, oak was at a better price, and it was more readily available than the others. So I gave it a try on a hunch, and it just seems to have worked out. So we're sticking with it. People are responding well to it.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. The main thing that I thought when I plugged the amp in, apart from I enjoyed the sound, was how alive it seems. It just, there's no reverb, and I very rarely play without a reverb or some kind of echo at least. And it was something that I was going to add at a future date. But I plugged it in and played, and the sound was still there after my strings were dampened. And I'm in this is a sound absorbing room, it's a studio. So it's not a very live room. And I thought, well, where's that coming from? And then I put it in I've got a dead corner over there for vocals, and I put it over there. And it was still there, very, very reduced, but still there, this liveness of the amp. And I did actually say to you about it, and you told me it was the oak. And you just landed on a very lucky hunch straight away, or educated hunch, should we say? I don't want to call it too lucky.
Yeah. If you get some of the raw timber and you rap it with your knuckles, it's got that hard rap to it.
I've got the offcuts. These are the offcuts you let me have because I asked for them. And actually no, I've got another one up there. Do you mind if I just pop and get that?
Go for it.
I was looking at this earlier and I've just remembered where I put it. So there's the main offcut, which has come out the top of the amp. I'll take a photo later. But yeah.
It's like, to me, the analogy is the difference between hitting a cymbal with either a drumstick or a felt beater. Just the inherent softness of the beater. You're going to lose so many of the frequencies. Whereas with the hard rap, the hard hit, the firm foundation of the hardwood, I think it helps retain and project the nuances that are in the tone.
No, I think it's a wonderful choice, and I don't know what it sounds like with another wood, but I can tell you that this amp is just lovely. It's very enjoyable to play through, and in order to try and get this point across more, I've just acquired a cheap pine cab. I'm going to run our amp with our speaker in that cab, do an A/B, just get some video down to try and prove that point. And regarding the speaker, what's the speaker in the back of this one?
That is a standard special. I shouldn't call it standard. They call it the Special Design Jensen P10R. Now that is the same spec as the 50s designs.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
The tweed character, they say 50% of the tweed character comes from those slightly less powered Alnico 5 vintage speakers. So I've got that in as the base model.
Right.
Obviously, if anyone prefers ceramic British tone, we can put in whatever they like, really. But I thought that was our starting point, just to keep it 50s.
Well, it's a quite high starting point, isn't it? It's not like a budget offer. It's
they're made in Italy now.
Oh, really?
Not that makes any difference, but pardon me. It's a 93 dB sensitivity, whereas your greenbacks are like 97, and more expensive. Your Alnico Blues, and I think they're 9900 dB sensitivity. But yeah, I think it's a great starting point. And only one guy, when he borrowed an 18 from me, has said, "Oh, I would have liked, a louder speaker in it." which is fair enough. Slap a Greenback in as a starting point.
Yeah. Now, big fan of Greenbacks, big fan of V30s, but this one just nails that vintage tone, so I'm very, very happy. And I wanted the standard model from you. When I said to you about buying it, I didn't want a special edition. I wanted to buy one that I could review that was what people will get, as standard.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the standard to be this standard, so again, in case anyone's watching thinking, is he happy with his amp? The answer is yes, I'm very happy with my amp.
Good.
Regarding so you got another cab coming. You also recently did some speaker tests. Is that right?
Yeah, I went into a rehearsal room the other day. Because it comes down to the camera quality. I haven't edited. So what I did was I put each speaker into the cabinet. Then I did about 10 different styles of lick or riff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll change the speaker, and then I'll do the same over again. And then I'll do that at volume 3 and at about volume 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got lots and lots of snippets where I've got to take each snippet and put the relevant licks together all in a row so that I can hear the difference. Now, what I got from in the room was that there were obvious volume differences.
Yeah.
Because you got that disconnect where you're swapping the speaker out. It's not like I didn't have 2 cabinets to do A/B with. So I've got to actually sit down and listen to the clips all together. Mm-hmm. So definitely decided that I had my Creamback, the Greenback, so the 25 watt speaker, the Greenback was the definite next step up. At the top end was the V30, mm-hmm. but that's kind of in a different bracket because it's a 65 watt speaker, not a 25 watt. And then floating up near the top, I had a Fane Ascension N30. It's one neodymium magnet. So, and there were a couple that I discarded that weren't different enough.
Okay. So how many speakers in total did you test?
6.
6 speakers.
Yeah, I had 7. I discounted one of them straight away because it was just definitely much duller, darker sound, and just. Mm-hmm. I bought it actually for a harmonica amp where you're trying to accentuate the lows rather than the highs. So I discounted that one. I had the Jensen P12R, the Celestion Greenback, a Warehouse USA Green Beret, which is an American company but a British sounding speaker, a Taden True Brit, and the Fane and the V30. So I've discarded the middle 2. Mm-hmm. I'm going to decide which would be our sort of preferred offering in the top 2. I think for the money, I probably don't want to be putting the V30 in our 18 watt amp, being a 65 watt speaker. I think you still need to keep it around the 25 watt mm-hmm. for that. But when we move up in wattage, we'll probably put those. We'll think about those V30s. I did like the Fane though. It was like the nice Jensen Alnico, but just louder in across the range.
Cool, brilliant. Well,
but as I say, I've got to go back and listen to all the clips to find the subtleties in there.
Yeah, I mean,
the camera
as a video editor, you are disconnected from what you're doing to a certain, unless you're A/Bing it. And I've really had some shocks while editing video, thinking that sounded not, very, very different. At the time, I didn't notice it. And you always, or at least I always, have a kind of favourite. But when it comes to the editing part, that sometimes changes. Okay, that's different. And it's ended up changing my opinion about a whole purchase I've made. How was the Warehouse and really the Green Beret? Because that's a Greenback sort of clone, isn't it? In the room, pardon me, it wasn't particularly different from the Taden or the Greenback. Mm-hmm. And although I could get it from a UK distributor, I think if I was going for a British sound speaker, I might just prefer to keep it Celestion. Yeah, makes sense. Keep it British or Chinese.
Yeah. Also, the Warehouse and the Taden were a couple of pounds heavier as well.
Okay, that's another thing. It's reassuringly heavy, but not heavy. because I'm a combo guy because I've got guitar case in one hand and combo in the other, and then any more and I'm sort of out of luck really. A rucksack with some pedals in it maybe, and that makes a whole difference to me. What about the tubes that you use?
Okay, I started out with Tube Amp Doctor. They do a range of their own. Actually, had a few returns. Had to go back, so I started looking at the Russian ones, and the ones that were most reliable were the tongue sole. So I get those from a guy now who will do thorough testing on them. So he matches the pairs. That matches the pairs of power tubes. He gets the phase inverter preamp tube. They get balanced triodes in those, and he's also now offered to select rectifiers for their sag quality. So if someone's looking for a very compressed sound, really saggy rectifier sound, he's going to isolate the ones of the lesser value that will do that. So I like the tongue sole. I've tried Sovtech. I couldn't at the time. Maybe if I went back and listened to it again now, my ear might have tuned in more. But when I made my decision, I couldn't hear much difference. But again, I had a couple of returns on the Sovtech, so I just stuck to instinctively with the tongue sole. And it's a JJ rectifier.
Okay, cool.
They are quite readily available, and I've never had any problems with those. So I would, when I started out, I would just take any old power tube in a single-ended amp where there's one power tube. I'd just take any value, but I'm now asking the supplier to try and stick around the 30 milliamp current off the plate, because there can be a lot of variation, and I don't want to have to be doing a lot of biasing with different resistors in the amp. I'd rather know that everything's going to be more or less on an even keel. So he can, because he's buying in bulk, he can get me, say if I want a dozen, he can find me a dozen all around the 30 milliamp, so I know I'm fairly safe there.
Oh, wonderful. And
so, sorry, go on.
No, just wondered how you made these contacts, because when you started Honeyboy Amps, it seems like you started for yourself, but then suddenly there's a business, and well, maybe not so suddenly, but how did you meet your tube supplier, for example?
Well, he found me. He just saw things online on Facebook, and he's actually a Scot that is now living down in Scarborough. So he knew all my sort of like area around here, and we had a chat. And he was very good. He broadened my knowledge for me. It's been very helpful. And like he does this useful stuff. Say, has anybody asked you if they want, more touchy-feely compression, because I can do this sag thing, So that's really useful.
Oh, cool.
Stuart, his name is. Nice guy.
Okay, hello, Stuart. Hopefully you'll be watching this.
Hope so.
And something else. Let's talk about the tone circuits.
Yeah. Well, okay. So one of the things that I really loved about these amps, it reminded me of my first car, which was a Ford Cortina Mark II, right? You looked under the bonnet there, you could see what everything was, you could get at everything, and you could change like a dynamo or a carburetor. You could see what everything was. It's like that in the Tweed amps, It's all about, to me, it's all about maintaining the purity of tone and not putting too much in the signal path to get in the way and alter the tone. Now, I know there's a whole part of this industry that is all about effects and enhancement and modulation and everything, but I think to start with, keep the purity of tone from the amp is my ethos. So your musician is trying to communicate with his listener. What is in his mind has to translate into the mind of the listener. His tool is his fingers touch the guitar strings, and your ears hear the speaker cone. So you want to take your guitar string, translate it into the speaker cone with as little interference in the middle as possible in the signal path. And when you, I mean, I've got one here. Can I?
Of course, please.
So here's a 5 watt. Can you see that?
I can.
I mean, that circuit board, it's got, what, 8 capacitors and just a handful of resistors in it. And, I mean, all the magic is happening in the tubes and in the output transformer.
Can you just show that again? Can you put it there? There we go.
So everything on that board is just all about getting the relevant voltages onto the anodes and cathodes of those tubes. And I mean, all of these 4 big black ones, they're all about smoothing out the power supply.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from here is just about getting stuff down into those tubes. You know, and it's dead simple stuff. It really is. And I think that's the sort of secret of the lovely tone you get from these amps.
The simplicity.
The simplicity. You're just getting the tube to do its job.
Yeah.
Which is to take the input signal and get that input signal imprinted onto the high output onto the high DC output of that tube. And there's not much getting in the way. I think when you get into more complex amps, there's a lot of stepping up, stepping down, tone shaping. I mean, the only tone shaping going on in here is that one pot. That's volume.
Yeah.
It's got one pot there with a capacitor on it. Affects the treble a little, but that's it. So I lost my thread a little.
Well, the simplicity is the key. I mean, it's quite a cliche to say that the best ideas are the simple ones, but from hearing the sound of the amp and playing it, it's so touch responsive, and it's so clear that what I'm doing as a guitar player is just being made louder and being made to sound nicer. And there's nothing in between you and, as you say, the listener's ear, which currently is my ear. But it is pure. It is simple. It is. It's just. I can't get the word simple out of my head because it just sounds good. I'm a very digital person in the way that something's either good or it's not, and there's sort of nothing in between. You know, I don't really sit on the fence with things. I either like it or I don't. But this, yeah. I get quite emotional with it because it's like, well, it's really good. And there's several pieces of gear that I own that was at first a yes, and then I'm very emphatic about it because it's so good and does its job so well. And the Honeyboy just does exactly what I needed it to, which was give me a pure tube tone without anything getting in between me and that sound. So I can do demos, but also it's going to make live appearances. I've had a few guys here playing it, and they're currently trying to rejiggle some finances, to put it lightly. So yeah, that's looking inside the amp. It just makes it so clear that what you're doing is somehow hitting the nail right on the head with that tone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people respond to the touch sensitivity. Mm-hmm. We go to quite a few shows, and we get people sat in the hot seat there, and they sit down, and you just suddenly see this sort of like smile developing on their face, you know, and that's very satisfying to watch. I love it because they just feel that response.
Yeah.
That sensitivity, touch sensitivity.
You should set up a camera, you know, the smile cam, and just try and capture everybody's smile. Have a little montage of all these little smiles put together.
Yeah, I do have one or two. I do have one or two.
Cool. Well, yeah, I know guitar players, we are weird people, but some of us like to put loads of effects on our stuff, and some of us just like the purity. But to have an instrument, and an amp is an instrument, it's part of the electric guitar. It comes part and parcel. Your instrument is not the guitar; it's the instrument, the guitar and the amp. And to have it all work in conjunction and just to express what you're expressing on a different level, It's just quite refreshing because I'm used to things being quite compressed and having to really play dynamically to try and bring out the dynamics of an amp. But with my Honeyboy, I was having to make my playing better. It's like, oh no, whoa, because I do quite like to thrash, and I also like to just tickle now and occasionally. And with this one, I was really having to become a better player because the amp was saying, "Hey, here he is. Here's his guitar." Like, oh no! So it's made me a better player marginally.
Glad to hear it.
Thanks for that. So we've covered a lot of stuff of the amps. I want to talk about you personally. What's your background before you started Honeyboy? Because you kind of, you said you did it for yourself, but where have you come from?
Well, must have been 25 years or more in the IT industry. I started out, as a kind of support guy, running around fixing things. And I ended up as a test analyst on a huge corporate project. And I enjoyed some of the early years. I had some sort of middle-level responsibility jobs, and you could take I could take out the fitting out of a new office with all the IT infrastructure, and come out with an end product and have a bit of job satisfaction, But all the small companies got overtaken by the bigger companies, and then you just found yourself in this massive corporate quagmire and a tiny cog in a massive machine. So there's no job satisfaction at all. You didn't see any product. You just got to work on this little bit, and and the politics as well. The politics was awful. So what I found was I liked doing the sort of hobbies I had. All sort of were throwbacks to simpler times, like brewing beer. I went on a blacksmithing course, which was great fun.
Awesome.
Yes, my wife did it as well. We both we came out with some fantastic stuff. Let me tell you. But anyway, so yeah, everything sort of was harking back to simpler times, basically. And this is the thing about when I made my first tube amp. It was just you planned it, you did it, and you got an end result that worked. And that to me, compared with my work life, was just brilliant. So, like I said, a couple of things, a couple of small projects for friends and that, and I thought, well, yeah, I could maybe make something of this. So, yeah, my musical background, part of the reason that I love these amps as well is because I grew up in rockabilly and rock and roll. I think I said earlier, and blues. So I always loved those vintage tones. And it's one thing to hear a record of, say, Buddy Holly or whatever, but to walk into a club and hearing that stuff coming out across a massive PA, it's powerful sounds. I mean, those amps were driven to within an inch of their life back in the 50s. When Fender started making the Champs and Princetons, they were meant for lap steel, and clean and clear was everything. But then, your rockabillys and that were like the punks of their day, and Link Ray and that, and they were just driving those amps and getting that hard edge sound. And part of the hard edge sound part of the hardness of the sound was the mid range that's still in those amps. They're not scooped out in the middle. They've got a good thick woody mid to them, And I just used to walk into these clubs, straight out of the dance floor, bopping my head off, Loved it. So yeah, I mean that tone was always in my blood. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the other side of what comes from my background into the amp.
So it seems that most of the things that you've talked about has gone and ended up as Honeyboy amps, and it's quite a nice story. Quite an inspirational thing to hear, because there's a lot of unhappy people with jobs currently when I speak to them, and you're one of the people that's taking that situation and really taking it by the horns and directing it.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, it's no bed of roses, Sometimes the idea of a salary again is quite attractive.
Yeah.
But we plug away at it and we make the best of it.
Well, I mean, again, back to the simplicity. Just, I'm no business advisor, but if you keep doing what you're doing, I don't see any issue with Honeyboy Amps just getting bigger and bigger, and one day you becoming a small cog in a large machine.
Well, I mean, it's such a huge market. The first shop I went into, we haven't gone down the retail road, but I looked at it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I went into a well-known shop in Glasgow, and he said, "Oh, you've picked a tough market here. You know, the guitar amp market. Blimey, that's a brave one." You know, so I didn't say to him that some of that was from naivety, but you know, it was obviously the case. But yeah, it is hard. We are getting some traction now. We're getting better brand recognition. Whereas people at shows used to say, "Never heard of you." Now they're saying, "Oh, yeah, I've seen you in Guitar Magazine or whatever." You know. So
yeah.
Starting to get a bit of brand awareness. It's just a 5-watt amp. It's a hard sell for some people because they don't believe until they've heard it that it can deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And the versatility as well is another thing I need to try and get across.
Yep.
When we did the Guitar Magazine feature, we had a feature and a review, and the guy did a video. It was a great video. All it showed was both the 5 and the 18-watt amps going full out in dirty mode. You know,
right?
It didn't get across the clean and you know, deep and woody and warm stuff. So there's that versatility message to get across as well. Well,
there's a certain YouTuber that you're currently talking to that is definitely going to be delivering something that shows the versatility. I've got you covered, mate. Don't worry.
Nice one.
Yeah, so that's so the Guitar Magazine, and you're getting brand recognition, and you've got two big players currently, haven't you?
Yeah, on the Harp front, because I don't think we've mentioned it in this.
No, sorry.
Interview, but I started out because I'm a harp player in my band. I played guitar for 30 years, but in my current band, I'm the harmonica player. And it all started really from me buying a very expensive harmonica amp from the States and having to pay import duty on top. And that was part of the attraction of trying to get into the harp market for the British guys. You know, our harp guy is Giles Robson. Mm-hmm. He's probably in the top 3 British harmonica players. The first thing we did with him was he got us involved in a thing called the Blues Harp Explosion, which was him and 3 American guys came over, 3 legends in American blues harp. Magic Dick, who has done one of the sort of archetypal masterpiece pieces that everyone knows and aspires to, called Whamma Jamma. But he was one of the guys. He was in the Jay Giles band for years.
Okay. I'm now on familiar grounds because I know next to nothing about harps, I'm afraid.
Okay. Yeah, Whamma Jamma. Check that out by Jay Giles band featuring Magic Dick.
Cracking name.
Billy Branch. Yeah. Billy Branch and James Harmon. 3 great harmonica players. So we took 4 amps to the Maida Vale Studios, BBC, and did this session with those guys. And 3 of them used the amps. One of them had his own preference, but 3 of them used our stuff. And we got there was a BBC blues show session came out of that. I've not been able to share that because it's BBC's own material. I can't use it, which is a shame because it was cracking stuff.
Mm. Has it been released? Has it been released by the BBC?
No, it just went out as a session on the radio.
Okay, it's available somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how they archive their sessions. It may be. I've got it.
Then maybe I'll have a word with you afterwards then.
Yeah. So anyway, so the other guy, Chris Corcoran, he is a jump blues swing guitar master. He's got 4 albums under his belt. He's based in London. He's a really, really, really busy guy, and he's just fantastic. I met him through a friend. He came up here. He came into this room, did a video for us, loved the amp straight away. He ended up getting an amp, and he just gigs it all the time now. And he uses it in small venues. It's 5 watts. He uses it in small venues, and if he's in a bigger venue, he lines out to the Fender Vibroverb that he's got as well, just to get the boost from the power stage of that amp. He's done 2 albums using the Honeyboy, and now the new project. Sorry, I'm quite enthused about this because it's just coming out now.
Sounds great.
It's called Honeyboy Amps Presents Roller Coaster, which is a Little Walter title. A ride through Walter's world. Right? That's the full title. It's a bit of a mouthful. Just call it Roller Coaster for short. Anyway, it's instrumental. It's just harmonica and guitar. No fancy effects. Straight through the amp. I think there's a bit of room reverb. It just sounds brilliant. It's done in Shack Studio in Essex, and it's just great. It's got 12 tracks, so all instrumental. It's got all the classic Little Walter tunes on it. We've had some reviews in already, been really well received. So that's got a release date of 6th of April, and we're going to follow that up with physical CDs for them to sell at gigs and stuff as well. So that's
this.
Our,
so I'm just thinking this is going out next week, so in the future, but it's going to be 1 week from the release of this video, I think, if anyone's interested.
Right. Yeah.
Give or take.
So that got me all into the whys and wherefores of music licensing and publishing and all that business. That was a. So
are you? It's Honeyboy. So are you the record company? Are you what? How's that working?
They said that we could either put this out as Maori Publishing, or you can have the imprint as Honeyboy Amps. I said, yeah, we'll have that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely.
It's got Honeyboy Amps Presents on the cover.
Yeah.
It's got the logo, and it's got that on the imprint. So whenever you see it on iTunes or Spotify or at Amazon, you'll see the imprint is Honeyboy. So. Well worth having.
More brand recognition, mate. I mean, that's the way forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how did you? I mean, it sounds like you bagged Chris just by him playing an amp and liking it.
That's right. Yeah.
That's wonderfully simple. And
I'm trying to cast my mind back to how I met Giles now. Actually, I think, I met him at a gig, and I told him what I was up to, and I just sent him one. Just said, right, I'll send you one. And within about a fortnight, we had our first sort of pro review up on YouTube, and he was just full of praise for it, so that was good.
Cool.
And he doesn't. Unlike Chris, he doesn't gig that everywhere because he does fill some pretty big rooms. So he uses a Fender Bassman a lot as well. But I've got plenty of shots of him live using the 5 watt as well.
So you mentioned earlier that you can line out. You can take the 5 watt and put that into the power stage of a bigger amp.
Yeah.
So if anyone's watching this thinking that 5 watts is not enough, so you can take the tone of this amp and just make it louder using a second amp. Is that right?
You take half the tone of the amp. You take the electronic tone out of the amp.
Okay.
The line out is there just for a bit of extra utility should someone want it. But I've always preferred, miking, close miking. You just get the speaker and the cab character as well. So
speaking of which, you mentioned some new close miking stuff that you're going to be offering soon.
The first one we did is called the amp. I should have got one here actually. The amp clamp, which was a little bracket that goes on here, and it's just an arm that holds your SM57. Just goes in the same spot every time, so you haven't got to try and find the sweet spot. We sold a few of those. People like those, but now we've just gone to Integral. This is the Integral close miking system from Sam Systems.
Okay.
We're gonna start offering this as an upgrade, so as an installed upsell basically. This is just the empty box because I've just installed this one. I've just had a battery warning on my phone. This is so you put this in between the speaker and the baffle and the grill. The back of it has got an off-center mic pointing at an angle at the sort of sweet spot of the speaker cone.
Mm-hmm.
And it just presents to an XLR like that. So you can mount that.
That is a microphone.
That is the microphone.
Okay.
So the obvious question when you meet these people and you ask them about the product is, well, normally your ribbon mic or your SM57 might be an inch or two away. You know, this is getting a bit nearer the cone. Well, they put a lot of research into getting the levels right, obviously, finding that sweet spot, moving it around to find the optimal spot. And I just used these in a couple of harmonica amps, and they were great. There was no overspill from the rest of the room, and I had less feedback than I normally get from, using Harp mics with amps is often danger of feedback. They sort of cut that out. And so I'm about to, so I keep waving it around. I'm about to put these in the guitar amps as well and give them a good try out. But I've got high hopes. They're pretty good.
Is there anything new coming from Honeyboy in the not so distant future?
Well, I think I touched on we were going to go in the bigger combo direction.
Yeah, you hinted at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the 3x10 style. Still keeping in the tweed era. We've got a project coming up with the Guitar magazine. I can't tell you anything about it yet, but we're going to have another feature with them around about June, and it's going to be a pretty good one. I can feel it in my water, because I met the editor again at the Birmingham Guitar Show, and I mentioned something, and I mentioned another thing. And him, with his knowledge, he put two and two together and said, that means we could do this with those two things. And I went, right, okay. So it's going to be pretty good.
You are giving me nothing here.
So, yeah, I think that's about all that's new on the cards at the moment, really.
So bigger combos and some secret stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I do like secret stuff.
And lots more... fancy vinyl coming your way soon.
So more custom finish options.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's a whole world of metallic finishes and sparkle and reptilian print that we haven't used yet.
Let's face it, mate. Even if your amps sounded, down from God himself, if they didn't look great, guitar players wouldn't buy them because we choose with their eyes. I hate to own up to that, but I just love looking at this thing, let alone playing through it. It is the full package. It's not some ugly beast that you stick behind a Marshall stack or something and mic it up. I want this to be in front of me, right there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that.
No, again, I'm full of compliments because it's honest. It's truly is the thing that I needed in my life, and. It's surpassed all the sort of reviews that I heard and all the recommendations. And again, I just love playing a couple of open chords through it and just listening to my own playing. So it's really wonderful. I want to do something with you called Desert Island Gear. And this is what it is. You are somehow deserted on a desert island. Okay? You're stuck there, unfortunately. But you've got a endless supply of lovely, clean, green energy, cables and picks and harmonica reeds and all those things that you need, these sort of accessories, they grow on trees. The girls from the Ramonas, which is the video that went up today, which is last week recording this, guitar players always ask for extras. And this extra was, what about new valves? So if you're wondering about new valves, because they do blow and leave you, they grow on a valve bush, which is down by the cove.
Good.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is you've got everything covered. What you don't have covered is a guitar, a pedal, and an amp. Now, but you can also take this as a harp, a mic, and an amp if you wanted. And you've got to give your dream combination.
Okay, well, I would have, just because I haven't got one yet, I'd have a Honeyboy 18, but with 6 L6s in. So it's now a 30-ish or something, which just because I'd like to hear it, because I haven't heard one yet. So guitars, I've been into Telecasters for the last couple of years. I've got a couple of Parts Casters. I'd like an American one, but then there's also a shop up here in Glasgow with a wall full of Reverends, and there's about 6 of those that I'd like. But when you talk about long-term, all-time faves, a White Falcon, Gretsch White Falcon,
definitely.
Yeah. I saw some cool guys playing some of those in my teens, I tell you, and
that's a classic. Yeah. That's one guitar that is that should be on my list, but never is because it just goes out of my mind for some reason. But what a guitar!
Sorry, was there a pedal as well?
So you get 3 things. Yeah, there's a pedal as well.
Like Strymon Flint, probably.
Don't do that because you know I'm after one. So.
Yeah, one of the guys in my band's got one. I love it. It just gets some beautiful stuff out of it. So.
That's the reverb and tremolo in one pedal.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
double whammy there. It's almost cheating, you know.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I've thrown one side off.
No, it's a pedal. You can only use one at one time. All right, and yeah, I mean that's quite a setup. But I almost thought you were going to say 335 from Gibson.
I had one. It's gone, but yeah. So not had the White Falcon.
Okay, well, that's good then. And if you were to choose an amp that was not your own, you know, for some reason, is there anything? Would you go for the original Tweed or?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big rock guy, but I love the sound of my mate's JMP. Mm-hmm. You know, through his 2x12. So. Just for the sheer hell of it and having some fun, I think I might, you know, just for a change.
Yeah,
might have that. Yeah, I've got the golden plexi pedal, which I enjoy from time to time. So a bit of that real full-on Marshall might be fun.
I'll tell you what, then you can take that with you as well. 2 pedals, why not? You've already cheated. Let's talk about promotional stuff because I've been flashing this Guitar Geek T-shirt and the Guitar Geek mug the entire time we've been talking. I noticed the T-shirt you're wearing looks a little bit like this one, which I haven't even opened yet because I'm saving it.
Right. I must warn you, my battery warnings come up again, even though I charged the phone right before this. But
no problem, we're almost done.
I've got these on Teespring.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't on Teespring. There's only 2 of these in the whole world, and me and Sarah have those. So.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it, basically.
Okay, so I'll make sure that we put some links up for that.
I am moving into harmonica microphones.
Oh, wow.
Harmonica bullet mics.
Are they powder coated?
They are powder coated.
That's
awesome.
And
I have elements. I'm looking for better elements, but they'll be coming soon.
Wow, that sort of Chuck Bennett at the end. That's a big one. Cool. Okay, well, sorry. Andy, I could talk to you forever, but we've got to put an end to it because your phone is going to blow up on us at some point.
At any moment.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to me tonight. I've learned a lot, and I've learned to appreciate my amp even more. So,
cool. Well, thanks very much, and I've really enjoyed it as well. It's been great chatting to you.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying doing these chats with people. I recommend that anyone who's watching this to go watch the other ones because so far there's just been really cool, nice, interesting people. And more people like yourself, Andy, that are taking life into their own hands and you know, choosing their path with something that they have a passion about. So again, it's great, great to talk to someone who is doing that and jumping off the deep end, so to speak.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the encouragement.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be doing a review of this in the next few days and posting that after the interview. We weren't sure which order to do that in, but it's going to go up afterwards. So if anyone wants to hear my Honeyboy in the next sort of few days, then it'll be on my channel at some point. We can reach Andy at honeyboyamps.com. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
And anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
I think we've covered it, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good. Okay, in that case, then I'm looking forward to the new stuff from you and a virtual handshake and high five to you.
Cheers.
And,
Thanks
I'll
very
speak
much.
to you soon. Thank you, mate. Bye-bye.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks a lot. Bye.